بيكم هنا في هذا الموقع الفريد. يعني احنا اخترنا المكان، والمكان كان اختيار موفق جدا. الحمد لله ربنا ستر في الجو النهارده، ما كنا خايفين يقلب امطار او حاجه، وممكن يقلب يعني، بس ربنا يسهل. يوناس اول ما دخلنا كان بيقول ان هو يمكن دي احلى مكان عمل فيه قراءه او حضر فيه ندوه، ان يبقى على ضفاف النيل وفي ظلال النجف النخيل، وفي مكان زي ده اثري لطيف. فدي كانت حاجه بالنسبه له يعني مميزه، وده يعني دايما بنقول اللي مصر بتقدر تقدمه للناس. احنا النهارده جايين نحتفل باطلاق روايه ربيع البربر، وهي الروايه الاولى اللي كاتبها يوناس لوشر، اللي هو معانا هنا مشرفنا. هو كاتب سويسري ألماني من مواليد 76. اشتغل مدرس ودرس الفلسفة، واشتغل في السينما فترة، واشتغل حتى مساعد مصور، واشتغل حاجات كتيرة لها علاقة بالسينما والكتابة، رغم ان هو ممكن ما يكونش شايف الحاجات اللي عملها. وقرر في الاخر ان هو يكتب الروايه دي. الروايه دي تقريبا اخذ 3 سنين في كتابتها، رغم انها بالالماني 190 صفحه وبالعربي تقريبا نفس العدد. وكان موفق شويه ان هو نشرها مع دار نشر كبيره في المانيا، CH باك، ودول من اشهر الدور النشر الالماني، والمشهور عنهم حاليا الجزء الادبي بتاعهم. وكان محظوظ جدا في الكتاب، لان الكتاب خد جوائز كتيره، اخرهم خدها اول امبارح. الصوت واضح؟ هو مش سامع؟ اوكي. لسه اخرهم لسه واخدها جايزه اول امبارح، وعزمنا على العشاء عشان يعني بفلوس الجايزه. بفلوس الجايزه. فاحنا سعداء ان يعني وشنا حلو عليه، لان ده كان يوم بالظبط اللي جت الكتب من المطبعه، هو اليوم اللي خد فيه الجايزه. و هنتكلم بالتفصيل عن الرواية وعن ظروف ترجمتها، ومعانا برضو المترجمة دكتورة علا عادل، فهنتكلم بالظبط عن ترجمة الرواية واللي حصل فيها وكده. ومعانا نجمتي أنا الخاصة الأستاذة مي خالد، هي الناشرة العربية الوحيدة اللي أنا بنشر لها، لأن احنا دار النشر عندنا بننشر أدب مترجم وكاتبة واحدة هي مي خالد، وده عامل مشكله. وده كتابها اللي هنناقشه برضو، مش هنناقشه بالظبط بس هنتكلم عنه. هو اسمه جيمنازيوم، صدر 2015، لان نص الكتاب ده بيحصل في سويسرا والنص التاني في مصر وقت الثوره. والكتاب كان جزء من الاحداث كبير له علاقه بان ماي جات لها منحه اللي هي رايترز ريزيدنسي في شاتو لافيني في فرنسا، فراحت هناك في سويسرا وراحت عاشت هناك شهر تقريبا، مش كده، مع 6 كتاب وكتبت. والكتاب بيتناول جزء كبير منه الجزء ده، وبيتناول الكتابة في سويسرا حيث الهدوء والراحة، وفي أجواء مصر اللي فيها ثورة، وكان ساعتها في عز ما قبل الإخوان والمرحلة دي، فكان الموضوع تنست قوي، ففي الناحيتين. واحنا بنعمل ريفلكشن من النقطة دي على اللي حصل برضو ككتابة، ان الكتابة في سويسرا والمانيا ازاي، والكتابة في مصر هنا ازاي، وظروف الكاتب هناك وظروف الكاتب هنا. وهنشوف هل بيشتركوا في نفس المشاكل والحاجات، ولا الدنيا مختلفة خالص زي ما الناس عادة متصورة، ان هناك الدنيا مريحة جدا وسهلة، وهنا الدنيا صعبة قوي والناس بتتعب. فالاول نرحب بيهم. وممكن يمكن هبتدي انا بطريقه مختلفه شويه، هحط مي في السبوت لايت، لان مي قرت الروايه، فممكن تدينا هي فكره عن روايه ربيع البربر زي ما قريتها كده.
ده ايه المزنه؟
انت كاتبه فهتتصرفي هتالفي الباقي يعني. فمي هتحكي لنا، هي قرت الروايه حتى مانيوسكريبت، يمكن ما خدتش نسخه مطبوعه لسه، بس هي قرت معانا الفاينل درافت للروايه علشان تبقى مستعده للنهارده. فهي ممكن تبتدي تحكي لنا عن الروايه ونبتدي من هنا ونسال يونس بعد كده.
ماشي يا شريف. ما كنتش مستعده مبدئيا. مساء الخير، ميرسي على حضوركم. ما كنتش مستعده ان شريف هيقول لي ان انا يعني اعمل ريفيو للروايه، لاني قريتها اول ما بعتها لي من فتره، فالحقيقه الاحداث مش حاضره في ذهني قوي، لكن اللي انا فاكراه انه في واحد شاب راح ريزورت او قريه سياحيه في تونس، وكان فيها في الوقت ده فرح بتاع ناس انجليز مرفهين جدا واغنياء جدا وعايزين يعملوا حاجه يعني غريبه، فراحوا يعملوا هم عزموا اصحابهم وكده وراحوا يعملوا الفرح ده في تونس. وبنتعرض لشخصيات، عده شخصيات اجنبيه وتونسيه، يعني مزيج ثقافات من خلال احداث الروايه اللي هي يعني ما قبل الاعداد للفرح. والكاتب بيغوص في نفسيات الشخصيات. هو طبعا يبقى يتكلم احسن عن الشخصيات، ولكن هو كان بيقول انه في مقدمته انه مش عايزنا، يعني هو بيقدم الشخصيات دي مش عايزنا نطلع بحاجه معينه، هدف معين، ولكن هو هيسيبنا بنفكر. وده فعلا اللي حصل معايا. يعني قريت الحكايات، طب هو عايز يقول ايه من الحكايات دي؟ مش ان هي مش مفهومه او صعبه او كده، ولكن حكايات قد تبدو بسيطه، لكن اللي حصل معايا اني قعدت يوم كامل الشخصيات بتلح عليا. واعتقد انه ده يعني دليل نجاح العمل الروائي، ان لو شخصيه واحده حتى او شخصيتين نجحوا في انهم يلحوا عليك على القارئ، فتبقى الروايه نجحت وتفضل الشخصيات دي معاك على طول. الشخصيات اللي اثرت فيا قوي شخصيه رشيد، وشخصية أم العريس الست الإنجليزية بيبا. فضلت يوم كامل بفكر فيهم حقيقة. فأنا ببارك لك على الرواية، وألف مبروك، وإن شاء الله أعمال تكون أكبر مرة وجوائز أكتر.
هو زي ما مي قالت كده، هي رواية بتتناول راجل سويسري رايح تونس. هو عندهم شغل هناك، بس هو رايح تونس وبعد كده بيقضي وقت مع في منتجع بتاع الناس اللي بيشتغل معاهم في تونس. وفي خلال احداث الروايه وفي قصص كتير على جانب الروايه، بنعرف اكتر عن الراجل، بنعرف اكتر عن سويسرا، وبنعرف اكتر عن اوروبا والعرب والنظرة اللي بين أوروبا والعرب. يمكن أنا هبتدي أول سؤال ليوناس، السؤال اللي احنا هنتسأله بعد ما يسافر كتير، واللي هو اوريدي اتسأله كذا مرة، واللي هو كان مثار جدال، وهو عنوان الرواية، فكرة ربيع البربر. وفكرة البربر دي يمكن احنا كناشرين كانت عندنا ديسكشن كبيرة مع الدكتورة علا المترجمة، واحنا حتى في دار النشر، هل هي يعني هو معهد جوته كان مترجمها ربيع الهمك، لان فكرة البربر في اوروبا غير فكرة البربر عندنا، واحنا عندنا يمكن البرابرة غير البربر، دول حاجة ودول حاجة، وفي يعني القصة complicated شوية. واحنا تمسكنا بالاسم ده وعامل لنا، مش عامل لنا مشاكل، بالعكس انا شايفها مميزات، بس عايز اعرف وجهة نظره هو في why do you call it Spring of the Barbarian?
Yeah, well, for German, yes. That was really loud, probably. I'm sorry. In German language, barbarian, the term refers to the old Greek term of the barbarians. For the Greeks, for all Greeks, barbarians were those who weren't able to speak Greek. So it was a term for people who are not civilized as the Greeks thought of themselves that they are. And later, more in the Roman times, it became more a word for all those who are vandalizing things, who are destroying things, and who don't would behave in a civilized manner. And that's how we today in Germany use this word. It's kind of if we say something is going into barbarism, we mean it's a backdraft into a non-civilized era. In this book, actually, the title Barbarians, or the word Barbarians, refer to this group of young British bankers who celebrate this wedding and start at one point in the book to behave very, very barbaric. So the word barbarian for me in the title doesn't refer anyhow to the Berber people. But it was interesting for me that in Tunisia you have those Berber peoples, and Tunisia, or the whole region, was called in German language the Berber states for a while, 200, 300 years ago. So that's kind of another meaning. But the barbarians are the young British people, and actually there is some Tunisian people in the end of the book behaving also quite barbaric. And the title, the word spring in the title refers to the notion of a springtime, of a good time for barbaric behavior, because it's a time of a huge clash going on in the financial system. So it's getting to a turmoil there, and always these times of things breaking together are like spring times for barbarians and for barbaric behavior. And there is also the fact that in the book, especially in the end, the Arab Spring plays a part. So that's also why the title.
But let's face it, you started writing the book before the revolution started.
That's true. I just started writing the book. I was working on chapter 2 when the revolution started. And I was writing about Tunisia, and it was accidentally that it actually was in Tunisia starting the revolution. And I had the feeling that something very, very important is going on in the Arab world, and it would have been kind of stupid not to write about it, because those times of revolution are like times you have to write about it. It's something a writer has to pick from the floor if it's just there and make a story out of it.
But what did you have the name Spring of the Barbarian before?
No,
that?
actually no. The book had a completely different working title, and
What was it?
It was Weakness, because of my main character, who is in a certain way a very, very weak person who is never able to make any single decision and to act. He's always just a spectator. So this working title was referring to this idea, because that was the starting point for me. I wanted to write a novel about the guy who never, ever can make a single decision, even when the events around him getting really dramatically. He's just a spectator, he's just watching.
And you've chosen Tunisia just by mere chance and as an exotic place.
Why not Egypt? Yeah.
Actually, the book could take place in Egypt as well, completely. I would think it would be possible, absolutely. You would find this kind of hotel resort also in Egypt. You would find this kind of people in Egypt. For me, it was Tunisia, because for German people, Tunisia might be even a little bit more important tourist destination than Egypt. If you go to Egypt, it's mostly because you're interested in diving or in the old Egyptian culture. So it's a very common place to go for German or for Swiss people, Tunisia. And there is also the fact that in Tunisia you have Carthago. What's the name in Carthage? Yes. And Carthage was exactly the city which was invaded by the barbarians, by the Germanic tribe of the Vandals in, I think, 355 or something like this.
Okay, but let's face it, you're writing about Tunisia, about the desert, about this resort, and you've never been there, and you haven't been even to the Arab world.
That's absolutely true, yes. And
so
I kind of had, in the beginning, a bad feeling about that, because normally I do a lot of research and I like to travel to the places I'm
Why
writing
didn't
about.
you travel then?
But this time, the whole book is taking place in this oasis resort, and this oasis resort is a highly artificial place. It was made up by a German resort designer who made some studies. What do people think about how a Berber camp would look, or how a Tunisian village would look? And then we make like the fancy, luxurious version of that. So it's a completely artificial place. It's not Tunisia. It's in fact it's a part of Germany taken into the Tunisian desert and sprinkled it with some exotic Tunisian decors. But people who go to those kinds of resorts, they don't want to feel like in a strange country, in a foreign country. They want to feel like home, but a little bit of exotism, that would be okay. So I didn't have a feeling, I wasn't writing a book about Tunisia. I was writing a book about this tourism in Tunisia, about a very European perspective on Tunisia.
Okay, would you do this, Mai? Or experience that you haven't gone through?
Am I supposed to answer in English or Arabic?
زي ما انت عايزه. عربي بقى.
عربي.
تعملي ممكن تكتبي عن مكان ما زرتيهوش.
خاصة وأن البحث أصبح سهلا دلوقتي، بس يعني كل الأمكنة اللي بكتب عنها أفضل إني أكون زرتها ولو بقدر يعني حتى أكون مريت عليها، عشان أنا وأنا بكتب أكون مصدقة نفسي. وحصلت حاجة لطيفة، إنه أول رواية كتبتها كانت جدار أخير، أحداثها كانت بتدور في تركيا، وأنا كنت رحت تركيا، بس في أماكن في الرواية أنا ما رحتهاش وكتبت عنها، بس مش إن أنا بصيت على الإنترنت أو حاجة، أنا اخترعت حاجة، يعني اخترعته إنه كان في بيت قديم في مقابل مسجد في جامع يني تحديدا، وتحت البيت ده في محل حلواني، ده اختراع تماما. بعدين سافرت تركيا تاني لقيت المنظر ده. I was shocked يعني actually والله انه it was the only house there، وتحتيه المحل الحلواني وقدام جامع يني، فلا ما بقتش مصدقه نفسي يعني، فبتحصل يعني.
بتحصل ساعات. على العموم احنا عارفين ان ده هيحصل برضه في روايات جديده ان
شاء الله،
برضه في تاتش مع المكان. Okay, and for Jonas, okay, in English, can we move them? So that was the title of the book, and then it took you 3 years of writing.
Yes.
190 pages.
Yes, it did. I am really a slow writer, a really slow writer.
How slow? How?
It depends, but sometimes I only write like 2 or 3 sentences a day, but it takes me like 4 or 5 hours for those. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking about it, then I write the first draft of the sentence, I'm changing it, and I'm really slow.
I hope Mai doesn't listen to this part.
No, my publisher doesn't like it too in Germany, but it's for me, I couldn't do it elsewhere. But the nice thing about this slow process is that when I'm finished with the book, it is really kind of finished. I don't have to rework a lot because I do it in the process. I rework every sentence when I'm writing it. I rework and rework. So when I have written the last sentence, it's kind of done. I don't have to do that much polishing anymore. And what I kind of aspire in my writing is to have a very dense writing. I want to write in a compact manner. That's something I like in literature, when it's compact and there is not too much in it, it's just what you need. And to reach this really compact and dense writing, you can go 2 strategies. You can write a lot and quick, and then you have to cross out like 80% of it. Or you do it really slowly and you are you're building it up very slowly and have this dense language then.
And what about you, Mai? I know, but I want them to know.
It's a different process. I take more time in preparing. in the process of preparation, character building, setting the places and everything. Then when I start writing, it's just one shot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I kind of envy that.
And I like it. Personally. Okay, both of you have been to writer's residency. You have been to New York.
Yes.
And anywhere else?
No, that was it.
For how long was it in New York?
It was for about 2 months.
2 months,
Yes.
2 consecutive months. And May, I know there was Serbia and there was Gymnasium.
Serbia and Switzerland. But Serbia, it was just for 10 days.
Yeah, which is, just touch base. So how is it for both of you going for a place where you have to write, or I don't know if you have to, or you're left to write, or you're exploring the city, or I wouldn't know what to do. I mean,
Shall I start?
Okay, you start.
It's a nice thing, of course, but it can. For me in New York, it was kind of painful too, because I made a plan. I said, okay, I'm the first time for a long time in New York. I have really to explore the city. That is also like my duty to do that. So my plan was to write in the mornings, and then the afternoons I go into the city and in the nights. And writing didn't went well, absolutely not. I was
not
sitting
even the
there.
sentence?
Not even the sentence. Yeah, I wrote like 2 sentences and I crossed them out. It was horrible. But I was sitting there for hours, and I felt guilty about not writing. And I had a beautiful apartment in the 9th floor of a high-rise, so I could see the half of the city from my desk. And there was lying this beautiful city, and I was sitting there and thinking with guilt in my head. And so when I didn't write, I mostly stayed in the apartment and went on with writing, or let's better say not writing. And then it get dark and I haven't written, and it's like now I feel guilty that I haven't written and I haven't seen the city. So it was like 2 kinds of guilt in me. So this time when I came to Egypt, I told myself I'm not going to write. I'm taking maybe notes and things, but I don't have to write in Egypt. I will see Cairo, and I did. I went out the whole day. I walked through the city for hours, and that was a good decision, I would say.
Interesting. We'll come back to this. What do you think of the city? What about you, Mai?
I will speak about this experience. I had in mind the idea of the story, and I was going to write it anyway, whether I had gone or not. But of course, it helped me a lot to be there and to have daily events, real people, flesh and blood. It helped. It made it faster. It made it more real. But anyways, I would have written that same novel, but with maybe different characters.
It added more characters too.
It's divided into 2 parts, part in Cairo and then the other one in Switzerland. And the Cairo part was there. It would have been the same. And the part in Switzerland, I would have used some other characters, foreign characters, but now it explored and evolved some ideas, different ideas. The idea of not just cross-cultural. Of course, it could have been cross-cultural, but religious, several religion. The idea of a Jew next to an irreligious, next to a Muslim, next to a religious, an Orthodox, that made it richer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
And there was no peer pressure? I mean, you had other residencies with you, I know, from the book, I know that you had this. And for you, there wasn't other writers who were writing every day, so it's...
No, I was alone there in that
You were
apartment.
alone.
So.
But you were not in the
No,
chateau.
yeah, we were like 5 or 6.
So you didn't feel that they are writing and I'm not writing, or they
I was
are writing
writing
more?
already. We weren't only writers. There was a translator, or actually 2 translators, and a short story writer and a non-fiction writer. I was the only one who was writing fiction. So the all of us had some work to do. I was the only one who was inventing events, you know. So I used this chance to prepare my characters, to work on the characters and the places and the data I had to gather. I don't know if you know this or not, but being a woman, a writer, a female writer in Cairo is very difficult to sit for like 6 or 7 hours doing your work without any interruption or without the door ringing or the kids and the husbands and all these things. So that was the good thing for me, to sit all by myself. So sometimes I got bored and I had to do something else. I had to stop writing because no, enough is enough. So I had the chance to go to Lausanne, to Morges, to Zurich, to Geneva.
So she knows quite well about Sicily now.
Yeah.
Okay, and you sat for 3 years writing the novel and then you finished.
Yes.
So what was your next step as a debut writer who is not known in the German, Swiss market?
I was lucky enough to have, at that time, I already had an agent who was taking care of the manuscript.
Okay.
And he was a really great agent and a great literary and publishing person. He was a publisher before. Sadly, he died last year, and he was an important person for me, for my writing. And he went with that manuscript to several publishing houses. And I was really in a lucky situation because I had offers from more than one publishing house, from a couple of them, and I could have talks. I had talks with all the editors, because this is really important to have a good relationship with your editor, and that you have the feeling that your editor somehow read the book in the right way and wants to do the same thing like you want to. And then I had to decide to which publisher I will go. And I actually decided to go to CH because it's a very old family-owned publisher. They are now 252 years old, and it's still owned by the same family who founded it. It's now in the 8th generation. And this is a kind of stability and a kind of a business model I do like very much, because in Germany we have all those huge publishing companies like Random House and Bertelsmann and those, and they own very different kind of publishing houses in all under one roof, and they sell them to each other, and you never know is the publishing house going to be sold and who will buy it and all those things. So that was, for me, that was important.
Okay, that's an interesting thing, because you were saying, we were discussing before the way of writing that you do, which is you like to write very long sentences, and it's possible apparently in the German language to have these subjects in the beginning, and then you have a lot of verbs and a lot of prepositions and a lot of things, and then at the end. And that was, I think, a challenge for Dr. Ola in the translation, because as I heard as well, your next book is even longer, like 2 pages, one sentence.
Yeah, I do have a really long sentence in the new book, yes.
And now that you've been translated to 14 languages, writing the second book, you wouldn't think of it like you should address the international market more?
No, never ever think about the market when you're writing. Never.
Not the reader even?
No. I do think about one reader when I write, and that's me. I try to write.
Very modest.
I want to read.
Yes.
Okay, because you said that you read to yourself.
Yes.
And it has to have the music.
Yes.
But this music most probably will be lost in all other languages.
Not in all of them. There are languages who can handle that quite easily. It's like in French, you can translate it with all this music and the long sentences. It's easy because it has kind of the same structure. Sometimes I actually had the feeling when I heard at the reading in Paris, I heard a French actress reading from the French.
And you know French?
And it almost actually sounded nicer than the German original. It was beautiful.
I think it will be. French is more musical, at least.
Yes, my language works well for French. It works very well for Russian, apparently, I heard. It's kind of more difficult in English. And yeah,
we'll see about Arabic. And Mai, for you, one of your novels were translated to German, and you traveled with it to Germany, where they love these readings, where someone reads your book in German. I know that you don't know German, but how did it
liked
sound?
it. Yeah, I liked it. I had several readings in different cities, and the first time I heard it by Vanessa, our friend, I loved it. Then I went to another city from another woman. She was like acting and doing that. She was an actress or something.
Yeah.
I loved it more. And I went to a third city. I loved it more. So it depends on how they do it. And it's this thing about the foreign language. People are always, they have this weakness for foreign phonetics. And whenever I go to Germany or any foreign country, they ask me to read a paragraph or a page to listen to the Arabic phonetics, and they always love it, no matter if they understand it or not.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Very strange. Not my cup of tea, these readings, but I understand that people like it. But Jonas, you live now in Munich, in Germany, and you live out of your writings. You have one book, and you can support yourself by one book.
I can now, but I had a job at the university till end of last year, so I could live from that job, and I could save the money I made with the book. And there are a lot of those prizes I've got. They mostly come with money, not all the time, but most of the time. And actually these readings we were just talking about, they are paid in Germany and in Switzerland, and they're quite well paid. So I mean, it's a lot of work, because you have to travel to other cities, sometimes really at the other end of the country, and there you have to reading, then you stay in sometimes really sad hotel, and you have to go to dinner with the bookseller or the people of the library, which can be really nice and can be also kind of very special. But I would say that most German writers do live from those readings mostly, not from book sales. Book sales, I couldn't live alone from my book sales.
Okay, but you are not even the translations?
Actually,
apart from the Arabic, I know that we're not paying. Don't depend on this.
Translations are not making that much money. You get money from the English translation and from the French one, but I have a lot of translations from really small markets like Albania or Belarus, or even the Russian translation, which is a huge market. They have so many problems with their book market. It's so hard for them to distribute books because they have no distribution system, and the country is that big. So if people buy a book in Vladivostok, it will cost like 4 times the price of the book in Moscow, so nobody buys books there. And so translation, I love it that I have these translations because it's really interesting, and especially if I travel to those countries. But financially, it's not that interesting. No, that's not the interesting
part. But it seems you're depending more on the German market, not the Swiss German part.
Yeah, because the Swiss German market would be too small. I mean, there are many Swiss writers who are only read or mostly read in Germany and in the Swiss German part of Germany, of Switzerland, and for those it's really hard because the market is really small. There are about 6 million people only speaking German in Switzerland. But the book market is always, we speak about the book market of the German world, so it's Swiss German, it's Germany and it's Austria. That's kind of combined.
But it seems that you're so lucky because you're getting the best of both worlds. I mean, you're one of the few Swiss writers, so the Swiss are very happy with you.
Yeah.
So they send you to travel and they support you, and yet you live and write in German and you get to conquer the German market.
It is a lucky situation because the helvetia, who is taking care of this evening, they are taking care of me, but sometimes I'm also traveling with the Goethe Institute because they consider me as a German writer. So that's kind of a
best of both worlds.
Lucky situation.
Mai also is very lucky, by the way.
I'm sure you are.
Okay, we go back to the book itself, and Mai can help us here maybe with the analysis of some parts of the book. There is this main character, Prizing, in the book, which is a Swiss man. As you said, he's very passive. And there is a challenge that we faced in the translation and in the editing of the book, because you leave a lot of parts unsaid. Parts that we have to fill it ourselves. And maybe when we were discussing with Dr. Ola as a translator and the editors, we were sitting together contemplating, what did you mean here? Is it really, what are these walls that you're talking about many times and you refer to them? Are they walking really beside the wall, or are they sitting? Where is this place? And you leave it vague.
Yeah, I do.
So don't you think, is it because of your philosophical background that you want us to use our brains more? Or?
There are different reasons, maybe. One is, I do think that most readers are smart people who can find out things themselves. And
most,
on the other hand, I think literature should be about ambiguity and about vagueness, and about literature shouldn't be about clearness. That's not the task of literature. Literature should have a secret, and it should be, it's more about producing a feeling in the reader, and then he has to make up his own world for it. It's just, if you write the book, you can never feed it to the reader and he's just eating it like you thought it will be. It's just more like pushing the reader a little. But most of the work the reader has to do by himself.
And what about you, Mai? I know, but what we want to hear.
Concerning the ambiguity.
Yeah, would you like to write like you leave these parts where?
Yeah, of course. I like to leave him, either the reader, to leave him either sad or astonished or with some negative energy. And the happiest moment in my life when I get a phone call from somebody cursing me and telling me, Helen, you made me cry, or
That's
you made
moment,
me, made me furious, things like that. Then I laugh in a cruel way.
Okay, that's interesting that you like to be cursed. Okay. we can arrange this. No, but I mean, in general, sometimes it gets overboard with this.
No, I don't like to make it. I was just the opposite when I've written my first books or short stories. I always used to ask my advisors, would the reader understand this? Would the reader understand this? How would it get in my mind? And my advisors used to tell me, never underestimate your reader.
Yes.
Yeah. So I started to write whatever I felt, but when I didn't make it very ambiguous. It should be understood, but not direct, of course. Literature or arts in general, it's not about being direct.
Okay, your book was a bestseller in Germany and Switzerland and Austria, and though it's really criticizing the European side, and that was a bit strange that people are reading about, not so good things about them.
That's actually what people want to hear from a writer in the German spoken word.
Not to praise them.
No, don't praise the politics or the country or anything. Writers are there to criticizing. That's important. And even the biggest critics of politics and the economy are often founded by governmental money. It's what we believe in, that we should support culture also with governmental money, especially when it's criticizing the government and the politics.
That's something we wish to see here. By the way, if anybody, لو أي حد عايز يسأل أي سؤال في أي وقت، إحنا يعني مش هنفتح باب الأسئلة في الآخر، إحنا ممكن اللي عايز يسأل في أي وقت يرفع إيده ويشاركنا الحوار. يمكن إحنا في مايك، طيب علشان برضو لو حد عايز، يمكن أنا عايز أسأل دكتورة علا بقى لو المايك معانا ممكن أسأل دكتورة علا في الترجمة. ايه اكبر المشاكل اللي واجهتك في الترجمه، وخصوصا ان انا عارف ان يوناس عملوا له ورشه ترجمه قبلها مع 4 لغات او were they 4 or 5 languages that
yes.
اتعملت له ورشه للمترجمين من 4 أو 5 لغات، قعدوا معاه 3 أيام يتناقشوا في الرواية، وهنا يقصد ايه وهنا كان يعني ايه المقصود او ايه المفهوم هنا، وهو طلعوا زي مسودة كده او درافت للغات التانية، وهي دلوقتي مترجمة 14 لغة، فالدرافت ده وصل لك بشكل ما واشتغلتي عليه واشتغلتي على كده. كان ايه اصعب حاجة في ترجمة رواية يوناس رغم انها صغيرة نسبيا كعدد صفحات؟
هما حاجتين الحقيقة. أول حاجة الجمل الطويلة، لأنه إحنا عندنا بتفقد أحيانا الصلة بالضمائر، يعني خصوصا إنه أحيانا هذه الجملة الطويلة ما بيكونش فيها أو يعني بيبقى ضمير الغائب فيها هو السائد، والغائب ده ممكن يكون أكتر من شخص في الجملة الواحدة، وبالتالي في اللغة العربية لو أنا استخدمت ضمير الغائب لأكتر من مرة مش هيبقى واضح. أنا كنت بسيبها في حالات كتيرة كده، بس دي كانت أحيانا من الجمل اللي احنا بنتناقش فيها، صح. اللي هو مين اللي مقصود،
هو مين بيتكلم عن مين.
دي كانت أول حاجة. الحاجة الثانية العلاقة الوثيقة بالثقافة الأوروبية، انه زي ما قلنا مثلا مصممة الريزورت ده انها واحدة من المشاهير، وفي احدى المدن الاوروبية ماجدبورغ، مين اللي ممكن يعرفها عندي كثقافة عربية؟ يعني لو الكتاب لما يترجم لثقافات اوروبية تانية، الانجليزية او الفرنسية، هتبقى معروفة للناس، هو هيبقى عارف بيتكلم على ايه، وهو يعني واضح ان هو واسع الثقافة بشكل كبير وقارئ، فدايما بيدخل، خاصة انه برايزنج ده الشخصية الاساسية هو متحذلق جدا ويعني بيقعد يبين قد ايه هو بيقرا وبيدعي ان هو مثقف، وبالتالي بيستخدم دايما كتير كلام خارج السياق، او يعني انه نقدر نقول ان الكلام بتاعه ما حدش بيستعمله، قديم شوية. فاحنا كان لازم ندور على الفاظ بالعربي اللي هي تماثل شخصية برايزنج، وفي نفس الوقت الناس ما تفتكرش ان ده مشكلة ترجمة، ده هو الشخص ده كده،
هو مهزوز
بالظبط، وخاصة ان هو نزيل مصحة نفسية، فيعني
دي مفاجأة احنا اكتشفناها في الاخر، رغم ان هو ما قالش طول
ما قالها، يعني ما اتقالتش،
يعني المفروض ان احنا نفهمها
مباشرة
من الحتت اللي احنا لازم نكملها احنا من عندنا.
وبس البروتوكول كتب اللي هو الملخص بتاع الورشة كان مفيد جدا. انا اعتقد ان هو افاد كل المترجمين اللي ما حضروش الورشة، لانه كان فيها يعني نصايح انا استفدت منها كتير. هو يوناس لوشر بعتهولي بنفسه لما بعتله، يعني ان انا بترجم الرواية العربي، وانا ما اسعدنيش الحظ ان انا اكون في الورشة وقتها، لكن كان مفيد جدا. وفي مواضع بعينها هو كان بيقول انه يفضل، او يعني اثناء المناقشه كان زي استخدام المصطلحات الاجنبيه الانجليزيه والفرنسيه في المسمى، عشان حتى يبان احنا بنتكلم على شخصيات عامله ازاي، وعلى العنوان كان من الحاجات اللي هو مأكد عليها تترجم ازاي. دي كلها كانت مفيده جدا.
العنوان ده عمل لنا مشكله كبيره. طب احنا معانا مترجمه برضو، استاذه دينا. هل انت بتحتاجي يعني فكره الورشه انك تقابلي الاديب نفسه او تتكلمي معاه، او تبقى عندك انك ترجعي له حتى وذر ايميل سكايب او كده، هل ده متاح ليكي ولا لان انا بحس في مترجمين وانا بقرا الكتب هم في عالم يعني هو مش فاهم اساسا اتقال ايه. ودي حصلت كتير لكتب اترجمت من العربيه يعني عن العربيه.
انا حصلت لي في تاني كتاب ترجمته لانه كان كتاب فلسفي، كنت اول مره اترجم دراسات فكريه يعني، او يعني هي المرحله اللي قبل الفلسفه. كان كتاب اسمه المرأة الثالثة، والمؤلف بتاعه كان فيلسوف اسمه جيلي بافاتسكي وكان عايش وكده، وكتابته كانت معقدة جدا الحقيقة، وكان من ضمن خصوصيات الكتابة ان هو ناحت شوية ألفاظ مش موجودين في اللغة الفرنسية تقريبا. يعني مركب بريفيكس يكون معروف مقطع على أصل كلمة معروف، لكن التركيبة دي ما تمش استخدامها قبل كده. وكان في افكار كتيره برضو معقده، وجمله الطويله زي ما الدكتوره تفضلت وقالت انه ساعات الجمل الطويله بعد ما بتمشي نصها بتحتار، يعني هو الضمير اللي في النص ده كان راجع على ده ولا على ده بالظبط. فانا كمان كنت في ريزيدنس في ارل في مكان اسمه كليه المترجمين الادبيين في جنوب فرنسا، وبرضه كانت مسابقه وفزت فيها، وكنت مع 6 مترجمين هناك من فرنساوي العربي ومن عربي لفرنسي، وكل واحد فينا كان رايح بمشروع. فحظي ان انا كنت رايحه بمشروع المرأة الثالثة. فاول طلب طلبته اول ما وصلت الكليه ان انا عايزه التقي بجيلي بافاتسكي. وتواصلنا معاه والراجل رحب جدا، ورحت له في المدينه اللي هو عايش فيها. بس هو المبهر في المساله انه في حاجات لما كنت بساله فيها اقول له انت تقصد ده ولا ده بالمعنى ده، كان ساعات هو ما بيروحش احيانا للمعنيين اللي انا بقولهم، وبينبهر ان انا قدرت الاقي ده من ورا الكلام اللي هو كاتبه. وهو يعني اللي وعاني على الفكره دي انه المترجم الحقيقه هو اكتر قارئ بيدقق في نص المؤلف، يعني انه اكتر ان المترجم احيانا بيساعد الكاتب نفسه انه يكتشف حاجات في نصه هو بيكتبها ما كانش واعي لها.
That's exactly what Jonas said. You remember we had this conversation and you said that the translators are your best readers because they go into all the details.
I'm afraid of them because they really read it very well, and they also will find every mistake.
Yeah, we had, I mean, it was challenging with the Arabic names of the authors because you mentioned one. And we were not sure الخبز الحافي because you wrote the name was not really, but we fixed it also for the Arabic reader in this case. So back to the writing process and the
them too. And the camels are not like hopping around there, but they brought camels there in the early days to like doing caravanning things, and they are wild camels there now. And and I went to a camel market in Abu Dhabi, so I really do like camels. If you read the book, you will probably think I hate camels, but I really love them.
Yeah, but there is a part where you had to know how much would a camel cost in Tunisia.
That was hard to find out, but
is it accurate? Should we
it should be accurate, because I found a guy in Switzerland who his brother is a camel breeder in Tunisia, and I could write to him on email, and so it's the information I got from a Tunisian camel breeder, so it should be
I wouldn't know, but
and for me those things are important. I want to get them right. That's kind of,
it gives credibility to the and I know also with Mai you do a lot of research concerning the data that you put.
Concerning everything.
Yeah, I mean you always like to be accurate. I mean you have all your imagination, of course, but when it comes to facts, you always try to.
Yes,
of course. You ask, you travel, what do you do? You read,
everything, all of them. All of them.
Okay, interesting. And then this camel thing was a main theme in all your books, covers mainly?
It is, yes, because in all the books,
most of the books covers of the books that came, they had the camel.
It was actually,
on it. And the first thing you said when you saw our cover, thank God there is no camel.
Yes, I was happy
but we
about
put
that.
it inside, if you noticed.
And that's okay.
We had to, we had the queen, but we don't have the camel.
And there
but the
were
camel is
even
inside.
publishers who managed to put on the cover the wrong camel, the Asian two-humped camel.
Yeah, which
is
does not
kind of,
exist in this part. That's the British pub. So how was the book received in Britain when it's most of the characters and the second part are Brits?
That's kind of interesting, because it would be an interesting book for Great Britain with this whole banking problem they have, but actually it is a British publisher, but it wasn't received at all, I would say. I didn't have not a single critic in English newspapers. And I heard that British people don't really read a lot of German literature. German literature doesn't sell well in Great Britain. That's one of the problems. Expect it's about Second World War topics. They love that. But modern books about our time, they don't really read. It was much better received in the USA. I had more readers there, more critics. And
you had also reviews about it in the US?
In the US, yes.
In the New York Times?
New York Times and Wall Street Journal and a couple of smaller ones.
What about you, Mai? Does reviews affect your books when you wrote several books and you had many reviews?
Yes.
Does they affect the sales?
I think they does. And what's really ironic is that they affect the people who do more reviews. They refer to the old ones, and I get the same questions over and over again, especially by reporters. Of course, critics, they do their own thing, but reviews help reporters. They don't want to exert so much effort. Yeah, they don't want to read the book, so they go back to Google the name of the book, and they read the reviews, and they watch TV interviews, and they ask me the same questions over and over again, and it makes some kind of promotion for the book. Yeah.
Okay, so it really affects the book in this sense. And what about Jonas? You're here for this is the fourth week now, and also we should tell the audience here that you're here to do an article about Cairo. There are 6 authors, Swiss authors now around the world. If I recall, Brazil, South Africa, Moscow, India, Cairo.
Yes, and what is it else?
Somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
Yeah, each should write a long article about the place.
Yes, exactly.
Did they specify what you should write?
It's actually also a project founded by the helvetia. They sent those writers in those countries, and the idea is to write a long reportage, a literary reportage about more like everyday topics in those countries, about everyday life, about how people struggle with their work and with housing situation and with their everyday life. That's basically the idea.
And who reads this? I mean, is it distributed, published?
It's published by a journal called Reportagen, long journalistic pieces, and this is a very nice publication because it's concentrated on this really more literary perspective. So they mostly don't send journalists, they often send writers, literary writers. It's more in a tradition like Richard Kapuscinski and people like this. And it exists since 3 years, I think, and the guy who is publishing it, the publisher, told me that now they are kind of selling enough to finance it, and I think they sell like 3,000 copies. It's not that much.
But it's a literary work, so it's for the elite sort of.
Yes, it is. It is without pictures. They don't print any photos. It's just graphics and text. So it's really about the word and.
Okay, but I would love to have a couple of photos.
No, because the writing must be so good that you don't need the photos. That's the idea behind it.
Okay. So
which is really hard.
So they put more stress on you that you have to give the photos
kind of,
by your words.
Yeah.
And that's what they have done in Serbia.
Yeah.
Our experience.
But it wasn't.
That was their aim in the first place.
That you
to
write
write
something?
anything about the the country and writing residency in Serbia, and they had people accompanying me, taking me to different places, to exhibitions and museums and things like that. But and to write anything, not necessarily a number, a specific number of words or anything, or specific media. It was just like anything.
Okay.
But I found myself writing a book.
Very good.
It was a nice one. So you coming from Munich / Zurich or Bern or Switzerland, where things are really quiet, organized. The weather is cold now. It's probably raining.
Yes,
Or-
most definitely.
Yeah,
it's raining.
maybe will snow in a while. And I mean, coming here in this weather, this chaotic city, this food experience, this people, how is it different? I mean, you've been here for almost 4 weeks, and the first week it would be the shock or the exploration, but then living it for the whole month, how is it burning there?
How is it different? It probably would be easier to say what is the same, nothing. It's really different, especially the first
unlike
days.
the TV anchor that you said that you said
Yes,
that
that was
Munich
really
is
fun.
similar like Cairo. Yeah.
Yes, no, it's really different, but that's just in a first glance. It's all different, but after a while you will understand that a lot of things are just a little different, but in the core they're the same. I mean, people are the same everywhere. They have the same wishes, the same dreams, the same problems. And even this organization thing, I mean, it looks really chaotic, and it somehow is, but on the other way, I experienced a lot of things of like self-organization, which is kind of impressive for me, that a lot of things are very self-organized in this city. And that's something you don't find very often in Germany or Switzerland, because there is always taking care of things and you don't have to organize it by yourself. It's kind of, you know how to do it because it's a rule, so, and everybody follows the rule. But here it's quite impressive how good things work sometimes without somebody governing it. That's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, I remember you saying always that, well, it's very strange, but it works. If it works, then it works. Maybe not with the German / Swiss system.
No, it
But
is
finally,
different,
you have the book out. You have we reached to where we want to go.
yes, and I was very much impressed about how hard people work here. I had an interview with a waiter in a bar. I'm going to write about him a little, and I mean, he has to work crazy hours, like the whole night, 12 hours, 6 days a week, and he has a long travel home, and it's kind of, yeah, I have to say, I mean, many people here do have a somehow hard life compared to Germany or Switzerland, I would say. I mean, you have to work too a lot in Germany and Switzerland, but you have then like things like social security, and if you get pregnant, you can stay home a year, and the government is paying for it, and all those things. So it's I think for those people who work in those jobs in this milieu, it's also a certain harshness which is impressive to me.
Okay, and for Mai, it's quite the opposite. You were in a very chaotic Cairo at that time, even with all the revolution and everything, and then going for 1 month in a very, very quiet place where I think quietness there hurts.
It was it was boring actually, although I had very nice people all around me, and even I met an old friend, an Egyptian, and a couple of old friends, Egyptians, and yet it was so different from Egypt. Although I live a virtual life here in Egypt, I was just telling Sherif, I'm not used to your city just right now, because I'm not used to getting out at this time of the day. I have late night shifts, and I live in a suburb, and I don't go downtown except after 10 p.m. and I go back home at 2 a.m. So it was very difficult getting in here at this time of the day. So and yet Switzerland was just like a beautiful scenery, but actually with no real life, you know, with the ups and downs of everyday life.
Countryside living in Switzerland is kind of boring.
Yeah,
even
it
the
is
cities
boring.
for me.
And even no, it's nice. But I back then I decided not to repeat this experience of going to a writing residency and getting away from home for a whole month. Especially that I have a very nice study that it's very inspiring that I write in. But now, actually, I'm reconsidering. Yeah.
So nobody's happy. That's everybody wants to change a little bit and go back to their basics.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to. During this several weeks that we stayed, we had very long conversations about your book and about you personally with Mr. Mahmoud Abdel Shakur, the famous critic, the movie / books / everything critic, and I think you made some kind of friendship.
Yes, we did. I would say so.
So would you like us to know about from him what he thinks of the book and of your visit?
Of course. That would be nice.
المايك أستاذ محمود هنا.
مساء الخير. أنا مستمتع جدا بالحوار وبالإدارة الرائعة لشريف عن العالمين، عالم مي وعالم يوناس، وأنا كنت محظوظ.
أنت
قريت الروايتين. وهقول حاجة غريبة يمكن يندهشوا الاثنين ليها. أنا يعني الآن لقيت بعض الأمور المشتركة اللي يمكن حتى مش مقصودة. يعني أنا بعتبر جيمنازيوم وبعتبر ربيع البربر روايتين ممكن نسميهم من روايات كشف الأقنعة. يعني احنا بنشوف في الأول الشخصيات دي ترتدي أقنعة للتعامل مع المجتمع المحيط بيها، ثم فجأة يحدث شيء ما بيخلي هذه الأقنعة تسقط ويبقى الكاتب في الروايتين انه يغوص في اعماق الشخصيتين دول. في جيمنازيوم في مكان بتلتقي فيه سيدات المفروض بتسترخي جسديا، لكن هذا الاسترخاء بيتحول الى اعترافات، والاعترافات دي هي اللي بتسقط هذه الاقنعه. عند يوناس الحقيقة بيحصل حدث عالمي ضخم، مش هنقول ايه هو الحدث الضخم ده، بس هذا الحدث ايضا بيخرج ما بداخل الشخصيات وبيبين حقيقة هذه الشخصيات. دي شيء مشترك واضح قوي. الشيء المشترك الثاني الحقيقة بين الروايتين انه في شخصيات اثرياء من الناحية المادية، لكن الحقيقة عند يوناس وعند مي الثراء المادي مش مرادف للاستقرار والسعادة. دي نقطة مهمة جدا ومحورية في الروايتين. احنا بالعكس بنحس انه الثراء بيمثل حمل ثقيل على الشخصيات، وبتحتاج فرصة انها تعبر عما بداخلها. ويعني احيانا بيبقى الثراء بيخفي وراءه فقر روحي وفقر عقلي وفقر اجتماعي. في عنصر ثالث الحقيقة مشترك. الروايتين الحقيقة الصورة فيهم قوية جدا، وأنا أعتقد أنه فرص تحويلهم للدراما هتبقى جيدة جدا. ويمكن اتكلمت أنا مع يوناس بالذات عن الرواية بتاعته، لأنه الحقيقة فيها مشاهد سينمائية بامتياز. فكرة أيضا اجتماع مجموعة من السيدات في مكان مغلق، ثم قيام هؤلاء السيدات بالفضفضة والتعري، لأنه الحقيقة الجيمنازيوم دي برضو كلمة جيمنازيوم يعني معناها التعري، يعني مش مكان لممارسة الرياضة، هو مكان لأشبه بمصحة، مكان للفضفضة والبوح. فأنا أعتقد إنه في فرصة يا يونس إنه تحقق الثراء مش من التوزيع إنما ممكن تحققه من السينما. أتمنى ده. I hope that your novel will be a good film, and you talked me about a project like that with 2 directors I think. So أنا يعني أعتقد إنه العالم صغير والمشاعر الإنسانية واحدة، وإنه الحقيقة يمكن أكتر حاجة تكشف الإنسان أن يكون في مأزق وأن يكون في أزمة، وطول الوقت الإنسان يحتاج إلى الآخر. هذه عناصر أساسية مشتركة في الروايتين. يعني أرجو أن يكون هذا الكلام أو ألا يفهم من هذا الكلام أنا محرض على القراءة يعني، بس في الحقيقة أنا يعني متحمس جدا للتجربتين. ومي من حقيقة كاتبة رائعة ولها رواية جميلة جدا أتمنى أنها تترجم، اسمها تانجو وموال، وهي أيضا تتحدث عن الآخر، العلاقة مع الآخر. التانجو معروف اللي هو الأرجنتيني، والموال هو
البلدي،
نوع من الغناء المصري أو الشرقي الصميم المختلف تماما، والرواية عن هذين العالمين تماما كالمقارنة الجميلة اللي عملها يونس ما بين هؤلاء القادمون، هؤلاء الفايكنج القادمون من الشمال، وهؤلاء البسطاء الذين يعيشون حياتهم.
طب ومحمود على المستوى الإنساني بقى، ده مستوى
يونس بالنسبة لي الحقيقة اكتشاف عظيم جدا، وإحنا يمكن هو من الشخصيات الحميمة، ومن أول مقابلة تقريبا مش معايا بس الحقيقة مع كل المحيطين بيه، لأن يونس وده الكلام أنا قلته لك يا شريف جاي يبحث عن الإنسان، هو مش جاي يكتب.
هو اتكسف على فكرة.
هو جاي يبحث عن الإنسان، مش جاي يكتب، مش جاي، لا هو مهتم جدا بالإنسان. حتى عندما ذهب إلى أثيوبيا، وهو حكى لي عن أثيوبيا وجيبوتي وذهب إلى كينيا وغيرها من الدول، هو مهتم أن يبحث عن الإنسان. وقال لي الحقيقة فكرة عظيمة جدا بعد زيارته للمتحف القبطي، أتمنى أنه هو يقولها للجمهور عن فكرة الحضارة في نظرة الأوروبي للحضارة باعتبارها خط صاعد إلى أعلى، وكيف اكتشف أنه الحضارات المختلفة اللي في مصر بتدي معنى آخر لفكرة الحضارة باعتبارها مجموعة من الدوائر المتداخلة المركبة.
هو يشرحها
بالضبط كده، بالضبط كده.
Can you explain to us this idea when you went to the Coptic Museum?
Well, it was not only the Coptic Museum, it was something I have really experienced here very strongly in Cairo. I mean, of course, I was always aware that history is not just like going like this, always in the same direction. It's not a one-way path. But here, you can really feel that because you go into the Cairo Museum and you see all the artworks from the old Egyptian times. Then you can go to the Coptic Museum, you go to the Muslimic museums, you see all these different cultures, and you see that history is much more working in circles, going forth and back and making like little loops, and it's not this thing we had for a while in Europe that history is just going one way and it's going the European way, that it's so wrong. And of course most people know that, but here in Cairo, in this city, you can feel it.
That's impressive. So first, any questions? أي أسئلة من الحاضرين؟ حد عايز يسأل أو يستفسر أو يوجه سؤال لي أو لمعي؟ اوكي 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 هدى على فكره من التيم اللي اشتغل على الاديتنج بتاع الكتاب، على تحرير الكتاب باللغه العربيه، ويعني قريناه مع بعض حرف حرف مش كلمه كلمه.
So are you planning on writing a new book?
علي صوتك بس شويه.
Are you planning on writing another book? Do you have a plan, thoughts anything.
What's your next project?
I'm actually working on a theater play for a theater in Zurich. It's a commission, and I'm writing on my second novel, which I will hopefully finish next summer. If I don't have too many of those one-sentence days, I can manage that.
Five per
so
day.
it will be published in about a year or so.
Okay, and where will it happen?
The book will take place mostly in the Silicon Valley at the Stanford University near San Francisco. I have spent 9 months there doing research in philosophy, and it will also take part a lot of the book in Berlin, in the Berlin of the 80s. So it's a lot of how do you say?
So before the wall, before the fall
of the wall. But also in the 90s, it's a guy who is also telling his old story, but the present thing will take part at a conference in the Silicon Valley.
But isn't it a bit strange that Swiss writers never write about Switzerland? It's always something happening outside Switzerland?
Well, Switzerland is a small country. You have somehow to go out. It is important.
That's an excuse.
It is, you know, especially as a young person, when you're young, for many Swiss people, Switzerland is also a little bit a prison, a very, very nicely furnished prison.
Okay.
And there is a saying by the famous Swiss writer Friedrich Dürrenmatt. He once said in a public speech, and that's about that writers should tell the truth about the country and criticizing the country. He said Switzerland is a prison, and the Swiss people are their own prison guards. And in some perspective, he's right about that.
Lots of Egyptians want to go to prison now.
The readers of my novel loved Switzerland very much, and they wanted to go there.
Yeah,
It is a very comfortable prison.
She's coming from outside the prison, and she wrote about the prison or the small country that
But it's a question of perspective. When you grow up there, you sometimes think it's too
much.
small, too rich, too well going, everything.
Yes. It was fiction, right?
I had to go to Germany when I was 22, and I went to Cologne, and Cologne is a big city, and it's also a little bit, from the German cities, it's probably the most chaotic, and that was really nice for me. Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, for Mai's book, there was some people who liked very much the Swiss part, and they wanted even to skip the Egyptian chapters.
Yeah, because I've written it that way. I wanted them to live the dream, and I wanted
it was very.
It was
you
like
can smell the coffee and see the colors and feel the.
I wanted the reader to have this feeling, to feel the contradiction between what was going on in Cairo at that time. It was very chaotic and very loud and very noisy, and to have this, counteract in music. This very loud and this very smooth, and
sometimes I have the feeling that if things are going very well financially and politically, and everything is very well organized, you have a lot of time to think. And here in Cairo, many people are struggling with their everyday life. There is not that much time to think about the meaning of life. But most Swiss people...
You have to live it first.
Yes, you have to survive first. But surviving is not a question in Switzerland. Everybody is surviving. It's just fine. So there is a lot of time to think about the meaning of life. And then when you start thinking about this question, this is the most horrible question. It's the most frightening question. And it throws you back on yourself. And that is sometimes not that easy. I mean, it's a luxurious problem, absolutely.
You're spoiled.
But it is,
Yeah, you remind me by meeting a Finnish publisher, and when she knew I'm coming from Egypt, she said, wow, I would really love to go to Egypt to compare the sound of the wind over sand to the sound of wind over snow. And for me it was like, what? Is this something that can come into anybody's brain? I mean,
Yeah, well, it was a Finnish woman.
Yeah.
Finnish people are very bound to nature. They have a close connection. They probably listening to the wind and on the ground for hours.
yeah, but that was crazy for me. I mean, it's like, who would have the luxury, as you said, to empty their mind completely and have a
some
space
of the
for
things
this?
that I write is crazy to you.
Yeah,
as well.
you get high.
Please tell me crazy Swiss stories. I love it.
Adultery, yeah, was about this somehow. The book of Paulo Coelho that you haven't read, the last one about a 40-something-year-old woman in Switzerland that's bored. So she decides to commit adultery out of boredom, I mean, sort of. And he's really describing how it is when you have everything, which is kind of, not the best thing.
Especially for people, I mean, it's not that a big problem for like intellectual people, because then they have a lot of time to read and to go in cultural projects, and it's a lot of contemplating, and that's interesting. But if you do live a more materialistic life, it can get really boring. I mean, I was in Abu Dhabi, and there you see all these young people living there, having really a lot of money, and I had a hotel room watching on the sea, and there were young people driving what is it called, a water scooter or a jet ski for hours, every day for hours. It was so boring, and they were really bored.
Yes.
Okay, we want some boredom here as well. Prison and boredom. Okay, one last question for you. I mean, you come here, you stayed a month. We all have traveled some cities. Some cities you would want to go back. Some cities you would want to live there. Some cities you would want to visit, a very short visit again, just to do what you haven't done. And some cities you don't want to go again. Where would Cairo or Egypt be in your program?
No, Cairo would definitely be a city I would like to come back, of course. I mean, I had 3 weeks now. It was kind of a lot of time, but it's not enough for this city. And I didn't travel. I haven't seen anything of the country. And the next time when I will come, I will of course go to different locations and see all the things I've missed now. There is so much to do, like Luxor and Aswan and Alexandria, or also going to the Red Sea maybe. I defininely would like to do that. Yes.
And I think it's not
Mai can
very
do a lot
it's
of
not
recommendations,
it's not very nice to go to a place when you are preoccupied with the idea that you have to write. You don't enjoy it that much. You always test everything, and how would I put this in a scene, or how would I express this? And this is the ghost that I have all the time in my mind.
Yes, yeah. But
when you get back again, you try to enjoy it.
Luckily, this time I could kind of get rid of that. I really enjoyed it much.
Yeah, but you were researching as well.
I was researching too, yes, and I was afraid that I don't get enough material, but now I'm kind of really enjoying it. Yes.
Okay, finally, as I know, or hope, or as he said, the title of the article will be Cairo, Happy City. So it seems that we are lucky enough to be living in the happy city, not Switzerland, which is apparently is the prison that he comes from, and
but you have to explain where it's called Happy City.
No, I don't have to. Okay. Let them live the dream.
I got it now. When I called you yesterday.
Let them live the dream that we're living in the happy city.
I told him, where are you? He said at Happy City.
So let them have the dream of living in the happy city, and you're living in prison. And maybe next time we'll exchange places. We'll all be in prison with you and meet you somewhere around the world. And we're very happy to have your book in Arabic and to launch it here and in this great place and with these people with us. And we really wish the success for the book, and we wish to see your next book maybe in Arabic as well. It will be our pleasure. And thanks very much, Mai, for accompanying us in this journey between these two cities or countries. And thank you all for coming. شكرا لكم الحضور. في سؤال؟ تفضل المايك. المايك ممكن سؤال؟ اهو المايك اهو.
هو اتكلم في الرواية عن الربيع العربي، فأنا كنت عايزة أعرف نظرته ليها وإزاي صورها في الرواية، وكنت عايزة أعرف برضك إيه سبب اختياره الاسم ده المقال القاهرة السعيدة.
Second question about Happy City, that's easy to explain.
Not Happy City.
Or what?
You سألتي على Happy City?
Yes,
okay,
that was there is a bar in downtown Cairo which is called Happy City, and I do write about the people working in this bar and going there as guests. So that's the answer. The first question is a huge question, and I'm not really sure that I already have a good answer, because I've learned a lot about the Arab Spring, or especially the situation here in Cairo or in Egypt. Well, from my perspective, living in a country, in a very democratic country, where the government plays almost a marginal, small role in a way, and especially in Switzerland, as you probably know, we don't even have a president in Switzerland. We have 7 ministers sharing the governmental work, and there is no such thing as a leader or a president or anything like this. And in my opinion, I have to say...
You're missing a lot.
Yes, exactly. I have the feeling that, I mean, I have spoken about Switzerland as a prison and all those things, but otherwise I have to say those things are working very well like this, and it's something I like, that the government is kind of not too strong and the power is on the side of the people. And from my perspective, I would say that, and that's also a topic in my book, that the revolution somehow stopped in the middle of the way. That's maybe how I could express it the best. Which is kind of often what happens in revolutions. It's when you go back to history, you can see many revolutions, especially also the French Revolution. It started, but it took almost 100 years to really fulfill its promises. But I don't have the feeling that the promises the people had, or what they were believing in the revolution, are fulfilled. And I hope they somehow will, in a good way, for Egypt.
Any other questions? Yes, Mike.
For pricing, I felt while reading the book that he was a little dramatic and a tragic personality. He's a tragic personality, like he wants to change but he can't, or he doesn't have enough a great will to do that. Does he represent Switzerland? That he wants to change but he can't? He is a little better?
Yes, this passivity of pricing of my main character is actually criticizing Switzerland, because in a certain way we are kind of always just acting as spectators but not really taking place in international politics, and we are isolating ourselves in this small country, and he is doing that in his own personal way. So it's also, you can read the book as a critic also of Swiss politics.
But he also has a lot of money, but he can't, he doesn't have a full control over it. But Switzerland has lots of banks. Mm-hmm. Is it the same way?
I haven't thought about it, but now when you're saying it, you could say it in a way, because our banking system had to change a lot in the last couple of years, and not because we decided to change it. We were forced, actually, mostly by the US American government and law system, because we had a lot of, not taxed money from American people, and they forced we had this bank secret where you can bring all the money to Switzerland and nobody will know, and the American government or the American law system put a lot of pressure onto Switzerland to change that, and we had to change it. Luckily, we had to change it. We should have changed it many years ago, but we didn't because we earned a lot of money from it. But now we had to because we were forced to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
أي أسئلة أخرى? Okay. Again, we would like to thank you very much.
I have to thank you very much for your coming
here. And thank you again, Mai, for being with us and sharing this. And thank you all for being here. شكرا. ألف شكر.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's nice meeting you. And when we were talking about Germany, I felt that